what's fascinating to me is that when we are so busy in our businesses, wearing all the hats as business owners, the last thing we are paying attention to is culture. That's not on our radar.
You work hard in your business. On the Profit by Design podcast, we ask the big question: what has your business done for you lately? Hi, I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling, the business psychologist, the author of How to Hire the Best, and your co-host on the Profit by Design podcast. Weekly, my co-host, Mike Bruno, and I bring you tips, tools, and strategies from our own experiences and from the experiences of our guests, who are entrepreneurial thought leaders and real-life entrepreneurs, all to support you in making intentionally profitable and sustainable business decisions to live the lifestyle you desire. At Tap the Potential, we know you're longing to be freed from the constant demands of your business. You need a business that supports your life. And the problem is your business is taking over your life, leaving you frustrated and discouraged. We get it. At Tap the Potential, we believe work supports life, not the other way around. We understand you're paying a team, and most likely you're still having to do it all. There should be accountability. It should not be this hard, which is why, through our proprietary coaching system, we help thousands of business owners like you have more time for what's important to them and grow profit by 300 to 800%. Here's how we do it. Start by taking our assessment at tapthepotential.com/assessment. You'll get an overview of your current quality of life as it relates to your business and next steps needed in your business to improve your quality of life while strengthening your business. Next, meet with our success team lead to debrief your results. Then, join our Better Business, Better Life program. By the end of your first year with us, you will have more time for what matters to you and more money in your bank account than you've ever had before. So, if you're ready to take your life back, the next step is to take our assessment at tapthepotential.com/assessment. Profit designers, at Tap the Potential, we are on a mission right now to be a positive force in social media during trying times for all of us entrepreneurs. In that regard, I would love it if you could help us out. We really want to get behind any of you who are doing good things in your communities, showing up and leading with love. If you are doing something to keep your team together during this time and you're sharing it in social media, or you come across another entrepreneur who is being a gift from their gift in some way that you notice, please use the hashtags Lead with Love and Be a Gift. Our team at Tap the Potential is on the lookout in social media for those hashtags, and we will be reposting those social media posts from the Tap the Potential social media. Let's all lead with love, be a gift, and shine bright during these trying times.
Welcome. We are here to talk to you, Dr. Sabrina, about your new book, How to Hire the Best, the Entrepreneur's Ultimate Guide to Attracting Top Performing Team Members. And where we left off the last time was we were going to talk about culture. So last time we talked about vision, and this time we're going to talk about cultures. Tell us why culture is so important, and one of the facts you've laid out in this chapter is that culture can improve profitability by 756% over a 10 to 11 year period of time, which I think is phenomenal. It's like untapped manna.
It's untapped potential.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
And so what's fascinating to me is that when we are so busy in our businesses, wearing all the hats as business owners, the last thing we are paying attention to is culture. That's not on our radar. And when we talk to small business owners and we ask them, what are your challenges? A lot of times we'll hear things like, I have a hard time finding employees. We don't have enough team to get the work done, or we have cash flow problems or profitability. I don't think I've ever had a business owner come to me and say, I'm worried about the culture in the business. That's not a conversation.
That's a good point. I've not heard that either. And I've heard the opposite. I've heard when you say, what's it like working in your business? Most business owners can't tell you, right? Because it's not given enough consideration or any consideration. So we have a culture by default. And I think one of the things I want to talk to you about today is why culture is so important. And one of the things I realize as we begin this conversation, Dr. Sabrina, is we have a culture of celebrating wins and successes. So what's one of your wins and successes this week?
Well, since I'm going to talk about it, I will be happy to share my wins and successes. I love when we chat.
Okay.
And I want to talk about why that's an important piece of building our culture at Tap the Potential.
Okay.
I am very intentional about our mindset as strategists at Tap the Potential when we work with our clients. And I'm very intentional around our clients' mindsets as they're coming into their meetings with us, because if we are in a mindset of problems and challenges, and these are all these factors that are impinging on me that are making it difficult for me to accomplish things, what we focus on grows. And so this part of our culture at Tap the Potential is to be intentional about where we're focusing. We focus on wins and successes, and we look at how to leverage those wins and successes and keep building on those and moving those forward. And there's a lot of fallout from that focus. One of those pieces of fallout is that when we on our team share wins and successes in our team meetings, we're getting to know each other in a whole different way than we might otherwise. We're getting to learn insights about each other's personal lives and who we are as people and what matters to us. So some of my favorite team meetings have been when we've done like a show and share, and you've brought your artwork, your paintings, which I think is so fun. When Darren has brought his woodworking and something that he's made for his wife, and he shares that and holds it up, or I bring my knitted sweater that I'm working on for my daughter. That is just like, we're human beings. We are whole people coming into what we are doing. And so we're able to connect with each other in a different way. It's not just about we're here getting things done for clients, but we are showing up as whole individuals. The other thing about sharing wins and successes is that we will find solutions to our challenges through building our wins and successes. And one of the things we're going to be talking about in today's discussion in the book is the Tap the Potential solution to creating a business that gives the business owner more time for what matters and more money in their bank account than they've ever had. That happens, part of that is defining the business sweet spot. And when we focus on our wins and successes, we are focusing on our strengths. Our strengths as a team are part of that business sweet spot. That's part of what makes us unique and different.
Well, so I have a question about that, Dr. Sabrina. Are you saying that business owners have to be strengths-based organizations? Because that seems highly specific.
That's a really good question. So I want to push back on saying you don't have to. You have a choice. Mm-hmm. And so the alternative to being a strengths-based organization is to focus on weaknesses and problems and fixing problems. So if we shift our focus and we focus on strengths, now we're operating from a growth mindset, and we move into learner and being curious and looking at how can we amplify strengths.
So amplifying strength. So I'm thinking of business owners when I talk to them, sometimes are like, but growing revenue is a growth mindset.
Sure, absolutely. You want to grow the revenue. You want to grow the What I am fascinated by, Stacey, is human potential. And when we bring people together on teams, we have a lot of untapped potential on these teams. And so if we are not focusing on strengths, we are not tapping that potential of our teams. We are missing out. So what this study has shown is that over a 10 to 11 year period, a business with a strong culture will have 700% or more profit than a business that has not developed their culture.
That's measurable.
It's measurable, it's mind-blowing. But where it comes from is, if you think about the impact on profitability when we have high turnover, when we lose team members, when we're constantly having to recruit and train, payroll is the biggest expense in a business. And the time and energy drain that happens when there's high turnover. And then the other time and energy drain that happens is when we have warm bodies on the team and we tolerate that. They bring the rest of the team down. So when we build a culture that attracts A players, and we build the culture around the A player mentality and psychology, in which that's something on our Tap the Potential team we've had a lot of discussions about recently.
Yes.
The way you run a business filled with A player team members is very different than how you run a business with warm bodies. And so when you have A players on your team, and you focus on their strengths and learn about their strengths and teach them how to utilize and work from their strengths, and then the whole team becomes highly focused on keeping people in their strengths and reducing drag by, looking at how do we shift responsibilities around if somebody's operating outside their strengths. That's where we really see this 900 to 1,200% increase in productivity from A players, because they get to work from their strengths. And that all trickles through over a period of several years through a significant impact on the profitability of that business.
That's massive. It sounds like it should be really easy, noticing what our strengths are and focusing on that. But I'm going to tell you, I just had a conversation with a team member the other day, and I was asking her, what do you feel is working really well right now? And what she described to me is this high, fast energy around needing to provide a solution. So it's communication, fast, driven, let's get it done, time is of the essence. And what I realized is one of the things that I needed her help with was a 2-week process. Well, that's not her strength. So as we were talking through what was working, what wasn't working, what she was excelling at, what I needed help with, I realized there's no on-ramp for her to stay with and engaged in that 2-week process because it's slow. And it's not time is of the essence. It's planned. It's going to happen in a 2-week interval. And where she was more responsive was, I need to get a hold of this client right now. And she was all over it. And those things were getting done. And the other things that I needed on a longer range project was not getting done. And she said, I just need to get better at that. Right? So she's telling me, here's a clue, she's telling me what's working well. She's talking fast, right? So that was clue number 1. She was excited about it, and she was excited about, I'm going to be on that right away. So, and then I realized as I was talking about the stuff that I needed support with, she's like, I'll get to it, but not right away. Right? But I noticed a change in her energy when she says, I just have to get better at that. Right? Energy dropped. Like, I know I need to work on that. And I was like, nope, you don't need to work on that. We need to redirect. And this is where you are best at. And we want to keep you in that skill set. Right? So this is where you could be most effective.
Yes. And so for me, as the owner of the business, this all happened without my involvement. I was out last week, and you had that conversation. You took it to our leadership team. The leadership team made decisions with you about how things could be redirected and shuffled around. I got one message that said, we're making this change. Just want to bring you in the loop. And I said, good. Sounds great. Go for it. And I love, because I wasn't aware of the backside of this, I love this conversation that you had with her, because that's exactly what we're trying to create on our team, is awareness of working with our strengths and when we're outside our zone of strengths. And you picked up on her energy. You heard her energy drop when she said, I know, I just need to get better at it. Why do we want people to spend time getting better on their weaknesses? When we put emphasis on trying to improve a weakness, we will get incrementally better with it. But when we put emphasis on trying to improve a strength, we will get massively better at it. And my example, and I teach this in leadership boot camp. I love sharing this with team members in leadership boot camp. And there was a time in my life when, and this was high school, I was really not liking school. It was my senior year of high school, and I was taking physics and chemistry and advanced math. I liked advanced math, but physics and chemistry, just, it was so hard for me. It didn't come easy to me. I had to put all this extra time into it, and I would still get like C's and D's and F's. And it was kind of pervading and snowballing in the rest of my life because I was starting to doubt myself as a student. I was a fairly good student. I wasn't great, but I was a pretty decent student. But I was really starting to see myself kind of like, oh man, I'm failing. Maybe I can't go to college. Maybe I'm not going to be able to do things. And it became this big snowball in my mind, and my energy went down, and how I felt about school went down. I started sleeping in class, and I was getting in trouble because I was sleeping in class. And so I got out of high school. I took Intro to Psych before starting college. I took it as a summer course. And I read the whole textbook before the class started. I could not wait. And I aced every exam, straight A's. So that's a total difference in experience. And I started to see myself. I was getting my confidence back in myself as a student and as a learner. And so, obviously, I don't know how many of our listeners are familiar, but I did go on to get a PhD in psychology. So I succeeded as a student. And had I stayed in that negative energy around failing and struggling in chemistry and physics, my career trajectory, my feelings about myself, all of that could have really taken a very different course. And what saddens me is our society is really weakness focused. We always feel like we need to know our weaknesses and we need to be improving our weaknesses. I put a lot of energy into trying to be a better student in physics and chemistry. And I got from a failing grade to a D plus or a C minus, depending on, if the teacher was feeling nice toward me that day. And so that's like an incremental improvement versus when I started doing psychology. And it's not just that I got good grades in psychology. My energy for my psychology classes propelled me through my other courses because I got straight A's all through college and graduate school. And I was taking math, I was taking science courses in college, biology, straight A's. And it was because I had a path. I wanted to be a psychologist. I knew what was needed. And I had the energy from my strengths that got me through the harder things for me.
So there's a physics principle that's coming up for me, and that's the path of least resistance,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that coursework that was producing the most resistance was holding you back from what was possible, that tapping the potential, right? And so taking the path of least resistance was what allowed you the freedom and the energy to be able to pursue it at a high level of excellence. You said something in a conversation recently, and it might have been on a podcast, I don't remember where I heard it, but it stuck with me for a couple of weeks. I've talked about it 3 or 4 times, and it's this: if we are in our sweet spot, our ikigai concept of a sweet spot, we can provide or achieve a high level of excellence in less time. So instead of a 40-hour work week, we at Tap the Potential are aiming for a 20-hour work week, right? And now part of me wants to push back on that concept because I'm like, yeah, but to an extent, to achieve that level, I'm not connecting with people the way I would in a 40-hour work week environment. And I feel I'm missing something. So my personality type is people free spirit or free spirit people. So I like to be around people. So when I'm not around people for a certain amount of time and interacting, I feel a sense of loss around that.
Mm-hmm.
So I may be, in your mind, achieving at a high level when I'm staying in my sweet spot, but there's a piece that's missing for me. And that's conversation and connection with people and just in general being around them, whether it's productive or highly productive time or not. I feel a sense of loss around that. I just wanted to share that with you, get your thoughts.
Absolutely. And so what's interesting to me is your strength is your connection with people. And that's a critical role on our team. And it's a critical role in your work with our clients. And that gets fed through you. You get energy from connection, and that helps you be more and more effective. And so on the Tap the Potential team, we all work part-time. None of us are doing this full-time. And my intention around that is that it gives us the opportunity to do things outside the business that nurture us. And so right now with COVID, connecting with people is really hard. Like, that's a struggle. And so, I can imagine in a world when we are not having to socially isolate and do everything over Zoom, that there's more opportunities for you to connect with people. And I know your vision is, pre-COVID vision, is to be able to travel and work from remote locations to go to Europe. That is all energy that from that connecting, from exploring the world, that is all energy that you then bring back into your work with us and clients. And not only is it energy, but it creates this creativity, this outside perspective, this different way of viewing the world that gets infused in the work you do with our clients. The other piece is that you're doing coach training. You have your own areas of expertise that you're developing. So all of that gets to happen when you're not working 40 or 50 hours a week at Tap the Potential. So I'm real intentional that we create that space so that all of us can show up and be at our best when we are showing up with each other and with our clients. And what's interesting to me around the restrictions, when we limit our time, and we say we only have 10 hours to get this done, or we only have 5 hours to get this done, it forces us to get highly focused and productive and make things happen. So it's that Parkinson's law in action, that when we have 40 hours to accomplish things, it's going to take 40 hours to accomplish things. But if we say, we have 25, 30 hours this week to get things accomplished, the most important things will get accomplished. And so it goes back to the 80-20 principle. And this is all fresh in my mind because I've been Linux for Leadership Bootcamp, and I'm teaching this to our clients, team members, Leadership Bootcamp. But the 80-20 principle comes into play because 20% of our efforts will produce 80% of the results that we get. And so, when we have the conversation around what are our wins and successes, we're really focusing in on what are the 20% of the things that we did this week that really had an impact, that made a difference.
I absolutely love how you've brought us back to the pumpkin plan and profit first, right? And those are major elements of the Tap the Potential solution. And you said a key word, and it's focus, right? And as business owners and as entrepreneurs, we are often trying to do everything and accomplish things when what we really need to be doing is focusing on the one thing. What's the one thing that we can do and be excellent at it? So we know the most successful people say no more often than they say yes. And we know that if we're operating from our strengths and as an organization, not just an individual strength, but as an organizational strength, we are excelling in one particular area. And through pumpkin planning, we can even create an area to innovate around and really distinguish ourselves in the marketplace. And because of Parkinson's law and the 80-20 principle, Pareto principle, doing those things allow us to be more effective with fewer resources.
That's it. You got it.
That's at the mic drop. That's the mic drop.
Exactly it is. And the thing about being a small business is we're always going to have limited resources. That's just part of our reality. There's never going to be a point in time where we have more cash than we know what to do with in the business. Because when we put profit first in place, it puts restrictions on here's the percentage that goes in the operating expense account. This is what we have to run the business on. Here's the percentage that's going over to taxes. That's what the government's getting. That's not our money to touch. And so we have to get very creative and intentional around how we use those resources. And those resources are our people. And any business, our people are our greatest resources, especially when we have A players on the team. And so I'm going to circle this all the way back to hiring the best, because that's what the book is
about. That's what we're talking about.
If we are creating a culture where we celebrate wins and successes, we work from strengths, we support each other, and we are looking for constant improvement, constant learning, growth, and improvement, that attracts A players, because that is the psychology of A players. And I think one of the things that is critical for our listeners to grasp is that if you want A players on your team, you have to make a culture that attracts A players, that celebrates A players, and be very mindful about policies and procedures that get put in place. And always ask, is this something that supports an A player, or is this something that keeps a warm body from getting out of line?
So about that, keeping a warm body from getting out of line. You told me a story a few years ago about how you, I think when your kids were younger, you had to go to the doctor, routine checkup, whatever it was. You get there 15 minutes early because that's your nature, right? And you're still waiting for the doctor to come in. And 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So you got there early, but 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, you still haven't been seen by the doctor, right? And they have rules in the doctor's office. So tell me the right story.
Yeah. So this is when my youngest was still very tiny, and they wanted me there for an early morning appointment, and they told me to come 15 minutes early to fill out your paperwork. So I did what I was told. And I show up, I fill out the paperwork, and I sit, and they had me waiting for over an hour, and they had put me in this little tiny room with no windows, with medical equipment, sharp instruments, and technical stuff all around. And I have a baby who's toddling around and wanting to go and touch all this stuff. And I was not allowed to eat before the appointment. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have a meltdown in this room. I'm hungry, and I have to keep my kid under control, and it's a small space. And so I'm a polite person, and I'm having worked with so many small business owners and medical doctors, I know the chaos that goes on in a medical practice. So I'm going to try to be a good patient and sit there and wait. But at one point, I reached my limit, and I peeked my head out the door, and I said, I've been in here forever. How long until the doctor is going to see me? And so the outcome of that is when I was checking out, and I said, and they asked me, how was your experience today? I said, actually, I'm going to be honest, it was horrible, and here's why. And the receptionist said, oh, we have patients who miss their appointments. They don't come on time. They don't do their paperwork. So we just tell people to show up 45 minutes early, so earlier than their appointment. So we make sure they complete their paperwork and whatever. They've designed their business around their worst clients. Like, they've put policies in place to cater to their worst clients, the people who are the pain in the rear. And instead of putting policies in place that would be attractive to an A player client who's going to show up on time, do what the doctor says, be in and out for them, provide, no difficulty, I'll do what the doctor tells me to do. So we need to be mindful of this in our businesses, both from our clients and customer side and how we run our business, and with team members. Are we putting policies and procedures in place that will attract the clients and customers that we want to serve? Or are we putting policies and procedures in place to take care of the ones that create all the problems for us? And those policies and procedures may inadvertently deter and repel our best clients and customers from us. The same thing happens with team members. If we put a vacation policy in place or an expense policy in place, and this is top of mind. I was listening to Reed Hastings' books, No Rules Rules. I was on a road trip recently and listening to that. And he talks about how at Netflix, they have a very liberal expense policy. And, when you have expenses, there's no strict guidelines of what expenses are approved or not approved. And it's really left to do what's in the best interest of the company. Make a choice that's in the best interest of the company. And he explains this is a policy that's put in place because they have A players on their team. they can trust their A players to do that. If you put policies in place, and a lot of companies do this, they create a lot of administrative paperwork for getting expenses approved, and it can delay. Like if you want to purchase a stapler, it can take 3 weeks to get approval to purchase that stapler in some larger organizations. And imagine for an A player in a nimble organization, like most of the businesses we deal with are rapid growth companies, we need to be nimble. And if we have all these policies in place about how expenses get approved, then our team members, it slows them down. It slows down their ability to make the change and shift when shifts are needed. And so if we're going to have A players on our team, we need to think about the policies and procedures. Are they supporting A players? Are they supporting A players for making choices that support the company and that support the team and the clients? Or are they hindering our A players?
It's a powerful question. And so it strikes me, how do you get at that answer? And who's the person you go to? Is it the business owner that decides that? Or do you have to go outside of the business owner's perspective in order to find that answer?
I think as a business owner, it is very important for us to have outside feedback. And as we are making choices in our businesses, especially that impact team and building a strong team, it's important to have perspectives outside the business. So I think about our clients in our Better Business, Better Life program and the rich conversations that we have as they are looking at, I'm thinking about a discussion we had in a group probably a month or two ago with a business owner recognizing he wants to be more effective in recruiting people from the Hispanic community. And so that's something where if we just do it from our own perspective and we make choices based on our own experience and perspective, we miss out on things that we may be just completely oblivious to and overlooking. It's that whole piece of what is it that we don't know that we don't know?
Yeah, so I've always seen charts like big circle and a very small, like the width of your hand sort of sliver of what you know. And then there's the what you know you don't know. And then there's the what you don't know you don't know. So that's the biggest slice in that circle. And it's 95%, right? So we're aware of not knowing maybe 3 to 5%. But it's the other 95% that we haven't even considered as a possibility because we're limited by our own myopic view.
Yep, we're limited by our own experience and our myopic view. And so in our Better Business, Better Life program, when a business owner is bringing forward something that they're working through, they're getting 5 or 6 different perspectives now on the situation from people who are outside the business who can be more objective in their feedback to that business owner. And so that I really think is a critical piece of building culture in the business. So it's not just about being intentional about creating a culture. It's also getting that outside feedback on here's some decisions I'm looking at making. Let me run this by you guys. Poke some holes in this for me. What could go wrong? What are the unintended consequences of this decision? I'm reading The Road Less Stupid by Keith J. Cunningham.
Yes, one of my favorites.
Yeah, he advocates for thinking time. And we need several hours a week, if not more, of thinking time to tackle and take on these powerful questions. And as business owners, when we're just going and rushing through things like I'm rapid fire, doing this, doing that, there's all this stuff that has to be handled and done. And I'm just going. We're working off of adrenaline and we are in that fight or flight mode. So our view, like you said, your word, Stacey, very myopic. We are focused on what's right in front of us, and that space, what is it that we don't know is enormous. And so to counterbalance that, we need that thinking time. We need that opportunity to reflect on powerful questions of what are the unintended consequences of the policy. That's one powerful question. I think about bonus programs. So often our clients come to us and say, I want to put this bonus program in place. I want to incentivize this behavior. Well, psychologists, I'm very careful when our clients start putting bonuses programs in place because I always say, we want to look at what are the potential unintended consequences of this type of bonus program. What are some things that it could incentivize that you don't want to have happen? Prime example of that is Wells Fargo.
Yes.
And they incentivized opening accounts. holy moly, look at what happened from that. So we really want to think through, if I'm making this decision, what are the potential consequences on the positive side, but the unintended consequences? So all the decisions that we make as business owners and leadership teams in our businesses have consequences, and we want to slow down. You're phenomenal on our team. Donna Krebs also is great on our team of saying, wait, have we considered this? And what about this? And what about this? Because I have that driver energy. I'm like, let's go. And we need that balance on our team to slow it down and say, well, let's look at this. And Donna Krebs, because she's been with me so long, she knows the history. She's like our historian and our wisdom person. And she says, well, remember, we did it this way because of this and that happened. And that's why we do it this way now. And let's look at, if we make this change, what is the impact going to be? We business owners need that kind of feedback around us, and we need to encourage it in our team members. Oftentimes, business owners say to me, I'm really frustrated because I go to my team for input and they just look at me with the deer in the headlights look. They don't speak up. They don't say anything. They wait for me to do everything. And so what we have to recognize is that comes from the educational system that we have in our country, where students are expected to go to school, sit in their desks for 6-8 hours a day, listen to the teacher, do what they are told. And so we have team members who come into our businesses with that mentality. I'm just here to do what I'm told. I'm not supposed to think. I don't want to upset. I don't want to rock the boat. And if they've ever worked in another business where they've offered ideas and opinions and been shot down, they're not going to take the chance to put their ideas out there. And so when we get very intentional about creating culture and we look at how do we create safety, security, and trust so that people feel comfortable putting their ideas out there. And this is the ultimate of tapping the potential on the team. If we have 7 people in a team meeting and only Dr. Sabrina is talking, there is a tremendous untapped potential within that team. When we have 7 people on the team who are all fully participating, including Dr. Sabrina, but Dr. Sabrina talks the least, then we have a lot more input. We have greater perspectives. We have greater strengths coming to the table to deal with the different issues.
So this is so important, and you've touched on a number of topics. I need to go back to something you said, because I think it might be the dominant discourse, and I'm not sure it's true. And that is that our education system is creating students who just do what they're told. Because I have 2 young adults who are coming along in that same education system, and I can guarantee you they have not once done exactly what they were told.
Good.
In fact, my youngest will go to great, enormous lengths to not do what he's been told. And my daughter, my oldest, will go to great lengths to explain to you why she thinks you might be incorrect in doing what she's been told, even to the point where it might get her in the principal's office. So
yeah, so I made a blanket statement, and you're right. That's not 100% across.
And there's another piece of this, Dr. Sabrina, that I think sometimes business owners hear that pushback and they think it's negative, right? The interpretation is, you're not on board, you're therefore against me. And let's reverse that and say, put a pin in that for a moment. How true is that, right? And what am I missing? What might I not be hearing?
Well, just even and this goes into the judger pit and the judger path, learner path versus judger path, which is from the book, Change Your Questions, Change Your Life by Dr. Marilee Adams. And we use that on our team. We teach it to our clients. We teach it in Leadership Boot Camp. So when a team member challenges something that another team member puts forth or the business owner puts forth, we can immediately in our mind say, they're a troublemaker. They're not on board. They're trying to rock the boat. That's a judgmental statement. And we have the opportunity to flip that and come at it from the perspective of, what if this person totally buys into what we're doing here? they have our best interests at heart. What are the implications of what they're saying when we look at it from that standpoint?
So what are the implications of what they're saying? That's an open-ended question, and that's an exploratory question.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a valuable technique, but I think it's a skill that has to be learned, and I don't think business owners necessarily do that, especially or can easily do that. It's a facilitated process.
It absolutely is. Most of us have not been exposed to learner mindset and the learner and judger path. So I have a PhD in psychology, and I've spent years studying psychology. I didn't encounter the choice map and learner judger path until I was in my 30s, and I was doing coach training, which was well past when I had done all my education in psychology. And it was mind blowing to recognize that I had been operating from a mindset that wasn't serving me all my life. And so our default as human beings is to go down the judger path. And so we have to be aware that whenever something happens to us, we ask non-conscious questions, and typically they are from the judger perspective. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with them? Why can't they do anything right? Why are they so stupid? Why am I so stupid? And those are all judger questions. They lead us straight into the judger pit.
So you use the term non-conscious questions, right? So does that mean they're automatic?
They're automatic. They're happening below the surface. They're not unconscious. Unconscious is harder for us to tap into. Non-conscious means they're just not in our awareness.
Okay, even in hearing the word, I was like, unconscious is non-conscious. But that's a good distinction, non-conscious. This is not a common word.
Because it means that we can access those questions. As soon as I start talking here about these questions, people in your mind, you're thinking, yeah, I've asked those questions all the time. They run through my head, or some variation of them. And that's what I mean. It's our default to be in judger mode. I had a situation this week where I had problems with my internet, and the internet company is very difficult to deal with. And it took me all day. And so by the time I showed up at the office door to get my new router, and I had been routed all over town to go get this new router, I was in a state. And I went to the door and I went to open it, and it was locked. And I was like, oh my gosh, they sent me to another closed down store. How could they? I mean, total judger thinking. And so I was like, are they really locked? And I banged on the door. And as soon as I did that, I heard someone say, I'll be right there. And I realized I had gone into judger, and they had locked the door because of COVID, and they didn't want a whole lot of people in there. They needed to control the traffic. Yes. So my learner could have said, I wonder if they're open. And I would have been much more calm as I handled the situation. And so, me, as I go into the store, I'm all in this tiff, and I'm like, okay, I am dealing with this nice customer service person. She's got this crazy lady in front of her, and it's the end of her day. I'm going to try to settle myself down and be pleasant. And I apologized to her. I said, I'm sorry. I know you had nothing to do with this. And my frustration is not at you at all. And so we go automatically into judger. And when we think about our culture in our businesses, we want to build a culture of learner mindset. And it's one of our immutable laws at Tap the Potential. Mistakes are learning opportunities. When mistakes happen, we vent, learn, and keep moving forward. Our question that we have the opportunity to ask is, what can we learn from this? This happened. What is there to learn?
Yeah. So coming from a background where mistakes were not learning opportunities, mistakes were to be avoided at all costs, right? It is easy to stay in that place avoiding a mistake. And I think for me personally, that comes out as not taking action early enough. And so how do you create an environment where a person feels empowered to take action? I intuitively know culture is the solution to this, but there must be a step-by-step. I mean, you've written that How to Hire the Best, and I know immutable laws are part of this, but how, and I even teach this course, so I feel funny even asking the question, but how do we get to deliberately being intentional about examining the current culture and transitioning to a chosen culture?
Yeah. Okay. So I want to address avoid mistakes and the implications of that on the culture of a business. So we have unspoken rules and norms in every business, and they're part of the culture, and we need to know what those are. And if we have an unspoken norm of avoid mistakes, there's a lot of unintended consequences that come from that. You said it keeps you from not taking action early enough. It slows you down. It keeps people from innovating. It keeps people from putting ideas out there because we don't want to look wrong. We have a strong need to look right. And all of this is fixed mindset. And if we have a culture of avoiding mistakes, it also means we're going to have team members who will hide mistakes and cover them up, which creates more problems down the road. And it also means people are not looking at, okay, a mistake happened. How do we fix it? They're putting all their energy towards this mistake happened. How do I cover it up? So again, we need to think about, what do we really want to create? I want to create a culture where if a mistake happens, we deal with it right then and there and figure out, what do we learn from it and how do we keep moving forward? So you asked, what's the step by step to start to create this culture? The first step is establishing trust in the culture. Trust is the foundation of all relationships. If we don't have trust, we shut down. We feel very restricted. We feel like we have to keep ourselves safe, and all of our energy goes towards keeping ourselves safe. So initial things that we do when we onboard team members go a long way towards building trust. Sitting down and talking to someone, asking them questions. What are your strengths? What are you most excited about with the opportunity as you come on board here? What do you want to dig into? What do you want to learn about? How can I support you in your career here with us? So these are not me talking about, Stacey, here you are at Tap the Potential, and here's all the things you're going to do for us, and here's what we're going to train you in, and da-da-da-da-da. That's not where we start the conversation. We start the conversation with, Stacey, tell me about yourself. What do you like to do? Where do you shine? That and listening. It's not just ask the question. We have to put the imaginary duct tape over our mouth as business owners and listen.
Well, and yeah, so here's a way to break trust, right? And you ask the question, but you don't actually care about the answer. Right? And sometimes as we are learning to do this, we talk about having one-to-one meetings on a weekly basis, and we're trying to be interested and engaged in our employees' goals, their personal goals, their career goals, and we start to invite them to give us the feedback, and then sometimes we think maybe are judging their answers as irrelevant, too much information, like not where I wanted to go with this, right? And we have this knee-jerk response to shut it down and to dismiss. So one of the things that I notice that you do, I'll just share this because people don't always see you in person on the podcast, but when you and I are talking in my one-on-ones, you make notes. I'm a little scared by that because I know you're going to hold me accountable for something that I say, but I remind myself I have choice, right? I can make a different choice 6 months from now. But you do. I notice that you take notes, and there's a little trust that is built between not using that information against me, right? But coming back and saying, I remember when you told me, does this still apply? Or what do you see? So, number one, coming back to it from this kind of perspective is, let me just check in with you and see if this is still valid information, right? And you're not telling me I'm off track or uncommitted to what I said originally. You're inviting me to examine what I've said, right? And what I've said is a commitment to me. And it's up to me to figure out, am I off track, on track, or does it not apply any longer? Which I think is an enjoyable process. It's also an intimidating process when we're learning to do this.
Mm-hmm. So, I flippantly said it earlier in the podcast when you said, is this easy? And I said, well, yes.
It is easy. You are good at it. I do recognize that.
And that is because I'm working in my zone of strengths. Writing about hiring the best, writing about creating businesses that are great places to work and getting highly involved team members, that's my zone of strength. So it is easy for me. It is not easy for the rest of entrepreneurs out there. One of the things that I'm so aware of, especially in dealing with our clients, is that when we're working 70 hours a week and we're wearing all the hats in the business, we ourselves are under a high level of stress. And so the ability to slow down and have presence and to listen to our team members and be engaged and create that safe space, it's not there because we ourselves are in a state of stress. So when clients are coming into our Better Business, Better Life program, one of our first focuses with them is reducing their stress level. So putting profit first in place is usually one of the first things we do with our clients because that creates stability in the business. It alleviates that business owner laying awake at night worrying about cash. When the business owner is no longer laying awake at night worrying about cash, they sleep. Sleep makes us better human beings. And when we are able to take care of ourselves first as the business owner, then we are able to move up Maslow's hierarchy of needs and pay attention to these higher level needs, like creating safety and belonging on our teams. And so as business owners are listening to this today, if you're in that place where you are feeling a lot of stress because maybe you've had big impact to your business from COVID, you have cash flow problems, I don't want you to hear from Stacey and I that you immediately need to go pay attention to the culture in your business. Actually, what you immediately need to do is put some things in your place in the business to take care of you. That business needs to be taking care of you first before you are going to be able to build a great team. And when we are settled and we feel supported and taken care of by our business as business owners, then we have the energy and the ability to start looking at how do I best support my team. Then there's still a lot of learning and new things, and it's not easy because most business owners don't have these skills. It's not taught anywhere in our school system.
Yeah. Well, yeah, even at the upper levels, this is not part of the business management courses. I remember taking business ethics and managerial accounting and some other courses, and not once did we ever talk about a paragraph maybe under business management course.
How to build a great team.
Right. You need to have a good team, but that's never clearly defined what a great team looks like. You called me an A player early on, and I thought, nice, not sure I agree, right? And so our first interactions were in 2016, and you made a comment about Stacey's an A player, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not feeling it. I'm really not feeling it. And I think A players, you and I have talked about this, A players are high achieving. They have high expectations of themselves. They have reasonably high expectations of others. They may be more forgiving of people who are not operating at the same level and can operate with a high degree of tolerance for people. But there's a limit, right, to that tolerance. And so what are the key characteristics of an A player? I know one of them is resilience, that Swiss Army knife that Jake Lippman said in the book. That's his reference point. But let's talk about resilience and some other characteristics that might get overlooked.
Yeah, so an A player is someone who is internally motivated versus externally motivated. So internal motivation means I want to do a good job. And you don't have to, give me a bonus to make me do a good job. And actually, again, bonus systems can decrease the motivation of A players. They can get them questioning their internal motivation. So they're internally motivated to do a good job. They are problem solvers, not problem identifiers. Problem identifier is the person who points out, we have a problem over here. Go fix it. A problem solver says, we have a problem. Here are 3 ideas that I have, or here's my suggestion of how we handle it. And they will find when there's a roadblock or an obstacle, they look at how do I go around, over, or through this obstacle rather than just saying, oh, Dr. Sabrina's not here. I'll wait till she gets back and then we'll figure it out when she's back, which slows everything down. So that's really the psychology of A players. A players want to improve and achieve and move up. They're not content to just sit and be where they are. They're always looking at what's the next thing. And there's a question that I teach in Leadership Boot Camp. And it's a powerful question of how do I add value? So in Leadership Boot Camp, we have our clients, A-player team members going through to learn how to support the business owner, implementing profit first, pumpkin planning, bringing on other team members, and really building the culture of the business. And so we give secret missions to the participants. And what I tell them is, you're learning about your strengths. And now I want you to look at this week as you go forward, notice where somebody on the team needs some help or support, or notice a client or customer who needs some help or support, where your strengths could be an opportunity to add value. And just be intentional about adding value. Don't tell anyone what you're doing, but just come from that powerful question of how do I add value? A players operate from that perspective. How do I add value? And we have someone in our Tap the Potential family that I want to specifically call out around this. There's multiple people that I can call out, but there's one who I think just epitomizes this, and that's Randy Hickman, who does the videography for us. He's our visual storyteller, and he captures the video at our retreats. He does all the videos for our promotions. Randy he runs his life from how do I add value? And it shows. He's always coming up with great ideas and looking at how can I get in and support. I've seen him on Facebook in a local business community and how he interacts. He's the first person to greet people as they're coming in, and he's looking at how do I support? He's not looking at what's in it for me. It's how can I add value? That is an A player mentality.
That's awesome. Yeah. So how can I add value? What's in the best interest of the company? Right? And it strikes me to know what's in the best interest of the company. We have to go back to that focus. What's our focus? What's the key result that our company provides to our clients? What's the ultimate experience we want our clients to be able to feel in working with us?
Yeah. So it's, when we're looking at what's in the best interest of the company, what is subsumed under that question is what's in the best interest of our clients. So it's not just, let's take advantage of the clients because it's in the best interest of the company. The other key question is, what's the win-win-win here? What's in the best interest of the client? What's in the best interest of the company? What's in the best interest for the team member? All 3 are included in the question of what's in the best interest for the company. Because if it's not good for the client, if it's not good for the team member, it's not going to be in the best interest of the company. The company exists to take care of the team members and the clients. And the team members, including the business owner.
Okay, that kind of blew my mind, hearing it as a win-win-win. Like, I think sometimes we forget that. So I have a foundational belief, just because we can doesn't mean we should. And I think this answers that, how do we know when we should? When it's in the best interest of the company, when it's in the best interest of the client, and it's in the best interest of the team member. Or the team, not necessarily the individual member. But that's when or at least can be reasonably certain that whatever the action is that we're taking, adding a client, letting a client go, serving a client in a particular way, allowing a team member to grow in a particular way, that's the trifecta. That's the test that we're measuring by.
Yep. So I want to go back to our question as we close out today. Our wins and successes from the week.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I decided a few weeks ago that I wanted to be more intentional about experiencing things that I enjoy. And many, many years ago, 30 plus years ago, I think 32 years ago, I lived in Germany, and it was in the fall. So this is this fall season. cooler mornings, I used to enjoy a cup of coffee out on the teeny tiny little patio in my high-rise apartment that I was staying in Munich, Germany. And every year for 30 plus years, I've been like, really miss that moment. And I can't recreate all of it, which was our bread, butter, and really nice slice of some sort of meat on my sunflower bread with my cup of coffee in the morning. But with the cooler weather, I'm making an intention of experiencing that cup of coffee outside, enjoying the outdoors in the cool weather as often as I can. Not quite daily like I was when I lived in Munich, but so I'm being intentional about that. And I've had 4 cups of coffee that way. So.
Oh, I love that. That sounds delightful. It makes me want to be there with you and share that experience.
It's nice. You know, my little back patio is overgrown with some lantana and some things that are sort of taking over. So it's not quite the setting, the idyllic setting, but it's nice. The cool mornings make me feel great.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So my win this week is I've had some epiphanies as I'm writing the 4-week vacation book. And that's my win, is that I've had the time to focus on it and think about it at a deeper level. And what I have come to appreciate as I write this book is one of the things that we do at Tap the Potential that is very unique, that I don't believe any other business coaching firm is out there doing, especially the ones that work with small businesses, is we are supporting businesses in creating a business that supports their life vision. Their business plan needs to align with the life vision. So we start with life vision first and then work on the business to get it where it supports the life vision, and laying out the how-to of that process that we are taking our clients through, that we're doing intuitively on our team. And we're documenting it. And at the same time, a lot of it is coming from Darren, Stacey, and Sabrina and what we know in our discussions as strategists. And so as I'm writing the book, I'm really getting to document our process so that other entrepreneurs out there have a how-to using the Tap the Potential solution to create a business that supports their life. And one of the things that I did yesterday that I consider a win is at our retreat, we asked our participants to do an exercise where they shared the most difficult experiences of being an entrepreneur, and they wrote them on sticky notes and went and put them up on a board.
Yep.
And that I also asked them to share, when you have a business that supports your life and you've taken your life back, what's happening in your life. And then I asked them to write those things on sticky notes and go and put them on a board. So yesterday I sat down. I've had those 2 boards in my office ever since the retreat. I look at them frequently. But yesterday I sat down and I wrote out everything that was on those sticky notes, and I consolidated it for our team, for myself, for the book, to just really understand what our clients deal with as entrepreneurs and business owners. And I have to say, I was so sad as I was reading through statements like, I have refinanced my home to cover payroll. I am doing, even though I have team members, I still do all the work. Or in the parts that were really sad for me to see were, I yell at my family. I don't eat with my family. I use the business as an excuse to disconnect and to be gruff with people. All of that made me very sad. And at the same time, it motivated me to write this book, to keep doing the work that we're doing. It just makes me so aware of how important what we're doing is, and disrupting the discourse that's out there about when you own a business, you have to be a slave to that business. It's going to take over your life. That does not have to be the case. And as I was working through what our clients are saying about the things that are happening when they're taking their lives back from the business, and I saw people's names associated with those statements, I could say, yes, that's actually happening in their life. I know that. I hear them talking about those things. So it gives me hope, and it just makes me want to write this book and make it better and better. And that's the big win, is sometimes writing a book becomes about a deadline. and I just got to get it done. Yesterday when I was working on it, it shifted from, I got to get this done, to, no, we're going to slow down and we're going to tell a bigger, richer story. And we're going to put more more in this because it has to have a greater impact.
Yeah. And can I tell you, so I've been a Profit First professional and affiliated with that organization since 2016. And in 2016, from the statistic of businesses operating paycheck to paycheck, was 87% of businesses operated paycheck to paycheck. Can I tell you, in 2020, in your book, the figure is 85%. So what you are doing has the potential to impact not just that percentage through Profit First. That's a piece of it. And the organization Profit First Professionals have put together is a driving force, I think is becoming a driving force in lowering that percentage of businesses that are operating paycheck to paycheck. If they can do that since 2016, the seminal work that you're doing can have an even bigger impact in changing the discourse around this is the common experience for business owners to be chained to their business and really creating a vehicle that propels life forward, not drains it. And I just think that's incredibly important, just massively important.
Thank you. I'm going to own that. And I'm going to own that I had the idea.
Yes.
Our team. And what we are doing with our clients in our Better Business, Better Life program, that's where the disruption is happening. And I'm going to push it further. It's not necessarily us. It's our clients who are doing it and living it and experiencing it and who are sharing it with other business owners. That's where the real change is going to happen. And so, when I talk about Vision 2021 and I talk about our clients are industry leaders and they are getting recognized in their industries for how they are creating life-sustaining businesses. That's what I want to see happening. That's where the change is going to happen. That's where the word spreads to other business owners that there is a different way of running your business and it can be profitable and it can be good for your life. It can be good for your team members' lives and it can be great for your community. That's where it's going to change.
That's amazing.
So now it's Friday and we're ending on a high note and we're going to go celebrate the weekend and come back refreshed next week, Stacey. Thank you for this great interview and this conversation. I so appreciate the questions you're asking me are challenging me to think a little deeper about some things, and that's really fun. So I want to invite conversation with our profit designers in the Facebook group. What did Stacey and I stir up for you today as we had this conversation? What did it get you thinking about? What do you want to push back on yourself? What did you hear that you think, I want to challenge that, or I want to know more about that? Share it in the Facebook group and let's have some conversation about it.
I love that. I think that'll be great. I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Thank you, Stacey.
You're welcome. Bye.
Profit Designers, the How to Hire the Best book launch is upon us. It would be phenomenal if you would help us get the word out about the How to Hire the Best book to other entrepreneurs so that we can help entrepreneurs everywhere put an end to their hiring challenges, helping them to hire A players and build great teams. If you would like to be an ambassador and help us spread the word, please go to tapthepotential.com/ambassador. Again, that's tapthepotential.com/ambassador. You, as an ambassador, will get in on the inside of the book launch, and you will have special goodies that we have created for you and fun things coming your way.
Thank you for spending time with us today. Join our conversation in the Profit by Design podcast Facebook group. Share your thoughts on today's episode, ask us questions, and let us know what you want to hear about next. Visit our website at profitbydesignpodcast.com to access resources from our sponsors and tools we've created for you. Subscribe to the show on whatever platform you're listening to right now. There's a subscribe button right there. Go ahead and hit it so that you always get a notification when we release a new episode. And finally, share our podcast with a friend if you know a friend who would enjoy it. Thanks again for listening. This is real life business. Keep your chin up, keep moving forward. You got this.